Hello, it's Tony here again, and we're into looking at another set of panels for Air Manager. So this week we happen to be in the Cirrus SR22. So what we've got here is a set of what I'm classing as the early variant of the SR22. So currently in Microsoft Flight Sim, they've got an earlier variant modelled of the SR22, but they have just after Sim Update, or as part of the lead-up discussions to Sim Update 13, they had a developer stream and announced that they were going to update the SR22 in a later, I think it was Sim Update 14, or are they calling that an Avionics update now? Anyway, it's coming a little bit later in Microsoft Flight Sim, and they've announced that they're going to introduce one of the later Cirrus models, so more in keeping with the one that's in the X-Plane version. So what I've already started work on was this earlier variant and the later variant. So I've got both variants with the slight differences in the instruments, and I'll show both in this little showcase today, and we'll have a look at both variants. But what I shall do is, after release of this SR22, I'm not going to wait for the Microsoft one to be updated. I shall just do those updates on the fly once it's already out there. So you'll have a chance to have a look at this this older SR22 variant, and the newer one in Microsoft Flight Sim, and of course the newer one in X-Plane 12. X-Plane 12 has got the newer variant, and I expect the Microsoft Flight Sim new version to be very similar to that one in X-Plane 12, with the little electronic standby instrument instead of these 3 analog gauges. The GCU, the control unit here, is a little different. It's the 479 model rather than the 478 model in these earlier variant SR22s. The audio panel's a little different, and then the panel colouring itself is a little different. This is a lighter background version. The one in the X-Plane variant has got like a carbon fibre type background. Anyway, we'll see what the Microsoft variant brings, and we'll do a version accordingly to that, and probably phase this one out, or maybe even keep this one as well. We'll see. So that's the SR22. This is the early variant, as I said, that we're looking at, and I'll show the later version in a minute. But I guess before we begin, I ought to say that we're in New Zealand. For those of you that are wondering, what are those mountains off in the distance there? We are indeed in New Zealand, and we're going to take a very short flight down to Queenstown today in the SR22, just to showcase the panels a little bit. So without further ado, I guess I'll pause it right here, and I'll show the other. No, in fact, what I think I'll do is I'll start the aircraft up so that all the instruments and whatnot are operating, and then we'll have a quick look at the other variant, and then we'll jump back into this variant, and we'll take our flight down to Queenstown, and we'll have a little bit more talk about the panels along the way. So bear with me a second while I start up, and we'll put the fuel on first. So you can see there's a knobster enabled there on the fuel selector. Put out my mixture up here. We'll have our battery switch on. We'll have our nav light on as well. Go. Get those alternators on and the avionics on. Get that other display on. So I guess while it's just running through its aligning there, I'll pause the video here, I think, and we'll get the other variant up. See you back in a bit. So here we are back, in the late model variant. You can see it looks a little different, mainly due to the fact that it's got that darker carbon fibre panel that I was saying, but you'll notice there's also some difference in the instruments. So the park brake is a little different to the earlier models. Some of the graphics and placards on the instrument panel are a little different. This switch panel is a little different. You see there's only 2 dimmers on this later model, whereas the other one had 3 dimmers. So essentially the switching is pretty much the same, albeit the layout is in a slightly different order. The GCU, as I was saying, is a different model. This is the GCU 479 as opposed to the 478 in the earlier model. The autopilot and the new GMA 350 audio panel. It's a nice little unit. And then on the right hand side you see you've got this reversionary display strip panel that wasn't in the earlier model variant. You can see just the colouring generally is just a little bit darker, plus you've got the oxygen as well in this variant. The flap sleeve looks a little different. It's just a darker version of the other one. It works exactly the same, and of course the fuel selector. No analog fuel selector gauge you'll notice in this later model, because that's obviously on the G1000. I don't know why it is like that in the earlier model, but those earlier models have a fuel gauge down there by the fuel selector. I guess while you're selecting fuel tanks you can have a quick look at the fuel indications, and maybe they didn't have the fuel wired in to the Garmins at that time, and it maybe have come back from the earlier days when before they had the Garmins in there. They had the Aberdeen glass cockpits before Cirrus switched over to the Garmins predominantly. So there you go. That's the newer version. So that's what you can probably expect, something similar to that in the Microsoft aircraft. I don't know exactly what it's going to be, but it's going to be something along those lines, I would think. And this one works with the it all worked with the Microsoft aircraft now. You can see you can still operate the switch panel, and the audio panel will still work, and the fuel selector and ignition key, park brake, all those things. So it'll still operate the same, and we'll see what differences, slight differences they bring in the new model. One big thing that they've said that they are going to bring is they're going to enable the use of these numerical, alphanumeric characters, like the keyboard, the numbers and the letters on the keyboard here. So currently these are only working in the X-Plane version, because X-Plane supports the direct entry using the number and the letter key. So that's nice. You can push in waypoint identifiers and whatnot with those, and they said they're going to be supporting that in the new version of Microsoft Flight Sim. So this will come to life. All these other controls still work, so you can still operate the range, use the FMS dial and the direct to menu, and all that stuff is working as you would expect normally right now. But you'll get the additional benefit of these extra keys in the keypad down here, also working in Microsoft Flight Sim, which will be nice, and it'll really bring this SR22 panel to another level, so that you'll have direct entry of those using that keypad for Microsoft Flight Sim as well. So without further ado, we'll jump back into the earlier panel, and we'll go for a quick flight. So I'll see you again back in the other variant in just a second. And as if just like magic, there we are, back in the earlier variant. So I guess we'll get out of here. Oh, I already had the park brake off, I think, when I moved the aircraft, because this was unfortunately this one of the little bugbear is that some airfields, the really small ones, they only put a spawning point of either end of the runway, so you can only actually spawn on the runway, and I always prefer to spawn cold and dark, so it's much more realistic, of course. So I had to spawn on the runway and move the aircraft, and I obviously forgot to put the parking brake back on. But this is one of those little airfields where can't spawn in a parking spot. It seems fundamental to me, and I don't understand why it's like that, but you'd think they would at least have one spot, even for a little grass strip like this one, where you could spawn, so that at least it enables you to go cold and dark. Not 100% exactly sure where I'm going, but I know Queenstown is just at the end of this big body of water here. Okay, lights are on, flaps set, fuel selector, both the tanks are about the same anyway. Okay, let's get out of here then. So you're probably wondering what these couple of buttons are on the top of the panel here, and on the other panel. So they're for the overhead lights. So the top ones are for the front lights on the respective sides, and then the lower ones are for the two back lights. They don't really affect too much. But these top buttons, when you're on night lighting and this panel's all a bit darker, when you turn that on, it just gives you some extra illumination on the air manager panel, which is nice. Kind of reflects the fact that you've turned a light on overhead in the cockpit. And the same for the dark panel. Pretty much everything is the same for both. So I'm not going to get too high here because I believe where we're going is not too far up here at all. We probably don't even have to swap tanks. It's so close. So we'll just have, while we're waiting to get that closer, I'm just going to stick the autopilot on just to show you that working. There's the autopilot on. We've just got into pitch and roll mode at the moment, which will probably do us actually just to keep it steady while we're flying along here. But the other modes are working as well. And then you can see just a quick look at the keypad there, so you can adjust the range on the map with the keypad, and of course you can do panning mode as well. There you go, with the cursor moving it up or down on the map, even diagonally if you want to. Go back in there, and these buttons, the menu, clear. So all that's working, and of course the heading bug. Push to sync it as well, and the course and the altitude select, all working with Knobster enablement, as you saw there. And obviously once we get the keys, so the codes, or the X-plane code at least for all the keys, is all in place, so the buttons and everything is already all coded up on both of these GCU models. So it will be literally, for Microsoft Flight Sim, just a case of dropping in the individual events for each of the keys. So should be a fairly quick task to do that. Hopefully they don't change anything else too majorly. That's kind of an integration in with the G1000, so hopefully that won't be too much of a drama for that. So I'm not 100% sure where we're going here. Oh, there it is. Okay, so we're just round the bend a little bit. Could go over the top. We'll follow this body of water just round the corner there, and you can just see Queenstown just in the corner down here. Now I think that's the main airport there, but I think there's also a little smaller one there, so we'll have a little look at that one, I think, just see. Normally I always land, this is a lovely airport here, but I did notice there was another small one. I think that might be it just there. So because we're only in a light aircraft, I guess we'll have a little look at that one, see how we go. Fast here, or high. Going fast. So I think what we'll do is we'll switch over to heading mode now. We'll use the bug to make our turn here. At least start of the turn. You can have a closer look there at that GCU panel and the autopilot. And also on the right side panel, the fuel selector, the fuel gauge. The AC controls are not really doing that. I think they work, they mirror the switches in X-Plane because they've incorporated that, but in the Microsoft, or at least in the current version of the Microsoft Flight Sim 1, they haven't exposed anything for those switches, but they still do. They still operate turn in the Air Manager instrument, just so that you can set something if you want to, but they're not really doing it or interacting with the sim in any way. Quite a few POIs there appearing in Queenstown. There you go, you can see where we're headed, just off into the distance there. Not very far at all, this short trip. I'm going to have a look and see if I can see that other smaller airfield off to the right there. I'm not exactly sure where it is, but if we can't find it, we should just land at Queenstown proper. No, we're nice and slow here. No point in getting too fast. Getting close to our destination there. I will just swap that fuel tank over to the other side. You can just see the needle on the left there, just a little lower than the right. Okay, we'll take it off autopilot now and have a little explore. Several POIs. Don't always have the POIs turned on. It would be nice if we could set them to a keybind really, because then you can just toggle them on and off a bit like you can with nameplates now. I believe that is a wish list item for Microsoft Flight Sim. It'd be nice if you could toggle them on and off. You would know where you were going. I'm assuming that's it there. Just off. I've got anything else, so it's got to be that one. NZQT is it, by the looks of it. Just round the bend a little bit. Beautiful part of the world. New Zealand. Direct off, we don't need him on anymore. It's quite a nice little aircraft, this SR22 in Microsoft Flight Sim and in X-Plane actually. Hopefully the Microsoft Flight Sim version will get, I'm sure it will get better with the introduction of the changes that they announced just recently. This airfield. You're probably all saying you know exactly where it is. I've flown into here a few times, but not this particular airfield, so I thought I'd give it a little go today. Seeing as we're in a small GA aircraft. Looks like it's right over. Oh, okay, I see it. Pretty sure that's it. Is that it? Not so sure now. Oh well. Let's see how we get on. So we'll have our first stage of flaps. See the LED and the indicators on there. Flap range now if we need it. Flying a little bit blind here. That's all part of the fun. right here. Oh, is that meant to be it there? Well, it's not obvious to me at all. Not obvious to me at all. But what the heck? We're going to land somewhere, even if it's not in the right place. Don't stall, Tony. Too busy trying to spot what I needed to spot there.
Stall.
Very dangerous. I see it now. There it is, look. I see it now. Now I've come at it from the right direction. Right. Okay. You're probably all having a bit of a laugh at my expense here, but that's okay. That was a little tricky with it blended in with the other terrain that was around it. A few boats there. But hopefully we can my orientation of it. It's the problem. Right, I need to be further over. Getting a little slow as well. I'm thinking I need to drop down onto the runway, but I think I've probably got a little bit more room than I think. I was getting a bit slow there, trying to see where I was. I'll probably have taken the flaps up, flown a bit faster, but one last go. See how we go. And we get a bit fast. real life, but it was pretty hard to spot in the sim with everything else that was around it. Well, it was for me anyway. But there you go, it was a bit of fun with the Cirrus SR22 and the air manager panels for it. So as I said, it'll probably gonna release it before any updates come, and then when any updates come that change it in any way, I'm thinking specifically for the Microsoft Flight Sim aircraft, seeing as that as something that's been recently announced, and we'll do the updates for the keypad and anything else in terms of how the aircraft's going to look. But I think they've pretty much said it's going to be a newer model Cirrus, and you can see what one of those looks like now on the Cirrus website. So that's all good. We should get a slightly newer and more capable aircraft, and we'll be able to enjoy these air manager panels even more than we currently do now. So thanks for watching. See you again soon. Bye.